This meeting is now being recorded.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Juanita Hartman. Welcome to our all cohort community of practice call today. We're really thrilled to have everyone with us. And why don't we go ahead and do some introductions, and we'll just go down the line. We'll start at the top and let you introduce yourself. You can tell us which CCB you're with, what your role is, and which cohort you're in, so we can get a sense of that. Before we do that, let me have the folks that are in the room with me introduce themselves as well.
Hi, this is Wayla Murrow.
Hi, this is Monica Harrington.
And Laura Merrill. We have the whole program initiatives unit here on the call, your Go For It support team. So who else do we have joining us today?
This is Vicki Folkerts with Eastern Colorado Services.
Great. And which cohort are you in, Vicki?
The third.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And this is Michelle Kaiser.
Oh, Michelle, hi. Hi, Michelle. Welcome. So why don't we start at the top? Can you guys see the participant list? And we'll start at the top and work our way down with Jean Larson.
Okay, so this is Jeannie Larson, Nancy Ketchum, and Jennifer Cutt. We're at MDS or Strive, and we're service coordinators and billing specialists.
Great. And which cohort are you in?
3.
Welcome.
Jeannie, who did you say? Yourself, Nancy, and who else?
Jennifer Cutt.
Jennifer.
Oh, Jennifer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Hi, Jennifer.
Okay. Beth, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Beth Scully with Rocky Mountain Human Services. I am cohort 2.
Great. Thanks for joining us. Doris? Doris, you might have yourself muted. Okay. Kelly?
Hi, this is Kelly Montoya with North Metro. We were part of Cohort 1.
Great. Laura?
Hi, this is Laura Verrott and Elise Dahlin, and we're up at Foothills Gateway, and we are Cohort 3.
Welcome. Melinda?
This is Melinda with Colorado Blue Sky, and I'm here with Sue Litton and Rebecca Gonzalez.
Fantastic. And what cohort are you a part of?
2.
2. Fabulous 2. Pat?
Hi, it's Pat Smith down at Community Connections, and we were with Cohort 2.
Great. Glad you're joining us today. Sharon?
Sharon Church with Inspiration Field. I'm here with Christine Meyer, and we were part of Cohort 1.
Excellent. Susan? So, Susan, we're having a hard time hearing you. What I think I heard is that you're there with Roanna Davis and Susan from DDRC, Cohort 3.
We're going to have Roanna go over that again. Okay. I'm here, Roanna, Joy Miles, Alicia Maxis, and Mickey Claus from DDRC and Cohort 3.
Excellent. Welcome. And is Susan Meisen there with you?
She's not here yet.
Okay. And Susan Meisen is with Horizons, which is also Cohort 3. And Vicki, you introduced yourself. I see Yasmin is on as well.
Yes, she is.
And this is Michelle Kaiser, and I'm just calling by phone, so I apologize. I can't see
the participant list, but I'm a provider for Eastern Power Services.
Fantastic, and you folks are part of Cohort 3 as well, so we're really glad you can join us. Okay, and Doris Franco is with Imagine, and that is part of Cohort 1 as well. So,
is there anyone that may have just called in?
Yeah, is there anyone we missed?
Yeah, Katrina Wall with Eastern Cohort 3.
Fantastic, Katrina. Glad you could join us. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started today. And we're going to keep you unmuted. If we get interference from a cell phone, we'll try to mute you individually. And if you do find that you're muted, go ahead and write in the chat. But we'd really like this to be an open conversation today. And just to remind you that this is really your call to support each other, learn from each other, gather information, and really share what's going well and any questions you might have for each other, as well as strategies. We are also here to support you with any technical assistance and questions and updates that we have. So that's the outline here, and we're going to review the agenda very quickly. So we're going to hear from Cohort 1. You should have received a few questions that we were curious to learn about how things are going and some lessons learned. Then we're going to receive some updates from Cohort 2. And in between Cohort 1 and 2, there will be opportunities for questions. And then we're going to go over some next steps for Cohort 1 and get your feedback on what you would like in terms of support, and give you some updates on upcoming dates. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, let's do it. Wayla?
Okay, so we're going to first address those of you that are from Cohort 1, and we're going to go down our list here, but these are the questions we'd like for you to answer based on your experience. What are families saying about this new Go For It process? And then what were your initial concerns about integrating these two processes, and were they valid? And then moving forward, how is your program adding this process to your policies and procedures? And this is really to think about sustainability and how this work is going to carry on through your community, especially in light of personnel changes and that sort of thing. So Imagine, Doris, if you can hear us and if you can talk, maybe we can talk to you about that first. Are you able to hear us, Doris? Or are you on mute? Maybe we'll come back. Let's go to you, Sharon. How about you at Inspiration Field?
I think our families are interested in the global outcomes and looking at things a little differently in terms of those 3 global outcomes. I think we have integrated it into our process that is natural for us right now. I think the miser costs and doing it at the initial IFSP, and then we also do it I do it at every meeting that we have so that we're doing ongoing assessment of how the child is doing. I think it's all working really well. I'm very pleased with the process. We really struggle to do the COSEF, to remember to do them, to get them done, and all of that. So it's working a lot better for us in terms of assessing global outcomes. I think our initial concerns were really with the 2 meetings. I think there's some validity to that concern because, sometimes our evaluations, you're almost already at that 45-day date and trying to coordinate it with the family and child find. So I think they were valid. And I'm not really sure how to answer number 3. I think we're just trying to integrate everything around the global outcomes and the go for it into everything we do.
Great. And I know that you retired and then unretired, right?
For the moment, yeah.
So I guess you're kind of in the process of thinking about how that's going to be moving forward as well. Thank you, Sharon. We appreciate that.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you. How about you, Kelly, at North Metro?
Hi there. I would say that families and service coordinators and providers like the new process. We're using the most likely provider model, so I think it's really nice for families to have the provider that hopefully will be the ongoing provider develop an IFSP with them and talking about the global outcomes. Our initial concerns were 45 days. I think that still is a concern, and we're working with our local school districts to, work on timelines and scheduling and that sort of thing, and that's an ongoing work in progress. I think our other concerns were just how school districts were going to still get what they need to get done for the evaluation process, timely, so that evaluations weren't taking hours, and then the family was having to meet again for hours to develop the IFP. So we're still working on fine-tuning that a little bit so that they're able to get their evaluation and assessment information done, and we're able to share eligibility with the family and make that all go smooth. Moving forward, we are just now, I think, in the phase of putting this into policies and procedures here at North Metro as far as that are specific to early intervention. And I think that's going to continue to be a work in progress as we are now in the assessment phase and using the QIO and really thinking about what's best practice.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. We appreciate that. And so we got a chat from Doris, and so she's from Imagine, and she says that their experience with families has been very successful with Go For It. The teams have received it well overall, and the initial concern was to be able to meet the specific timelines, and they've had a lot of turnover in their management at Imagine, so it's an ongoing process to make sure that they're setting some processes in place to ensure the best outcome. We also invited people from Inspiration Field and Imagine to attend one of our other universal trainings. And so I think that probably helped a little bit to kind of get some of them up to speed that hadn't originally seen the universal training. So hopefully that was helpful to you guys. So thank you, Doris. Appreciate that. How about anyone from Mountain Valley? Sarah or anyone else from Mountain Valley? Okay, how about Southern? Anybody from Southern? All right, well, thanks for sharing. We're going to have a time for some questions. So, So Doris says that it was helpful to attend the training. So that's an idea for some of you also. If you know of a universal training nearby that you might want to give somebody a boost or somebody that hadn't heard it, we're always happy to have others attend those trainings. We would just ask for you to contact that community so that they know and that it's okay with them and all of that.
And we're going to post those upcoming universal trainings on the EI Colorado website. So on that calendar, if you are curious of when those are, we'll review a few of them today, but we'll put all of them for the year up there.
So since everyone is on the call, does anyone from Cohort
2 or 3 have any questions for your fellow counterparts in Cohort 1?
I have a question. This is Melinda from Colorado Blue Sky, and I was wondering how the implementation of the QIO is going for Cohort 1. Specifically, what are the things that they really like about it, and then what are some of the struggles that they're having?
Great question, Melinda, and I'm sure Kelly or Sharon or Doris can you give Melinda some feedback or some information on that?
So this is Sharon, and so I think the assessment is really helpful it's given me a much better understanding of what you guys are looking for and what you expect, and it's also provided me with good information about where we're not quite as strong as I would like us to be. The challenge for me is it's another thing to do, I guess I would say. It just takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Sharon.
This is Kelly with North Metro. And I would agree. I think it just, it was initially just one of those things where it's like, okay, one more thing to do. I need to carve out some time to be able to make this happen. So that was kind of an initial reaction, but I think once you kind of dive into it, and you work with, your CCB and your structure, I mean, it can be figured out. I think that it's challenging because in addition to the time, you're getting the IFSPs generated from a list from the state. So I don't know if it just happened to be the batch that I received, but there was a lot of the same service coordinator in the batch, so you could easily see a trend. So I'm anxious to get, these ongoing and monthly so I can get more variety within the service coordinators to really identify what is specific to certain service coordinators as a trend and what are global trends that we need to work on as a team. But it is really a great supervision tool. I've had the opportunity to have one-on-one supervision with the service coordinators and really look at the IFSP and what's coming up on the QIO. So I think it's really helpful for those one-on-one supervision opportunities thus far. And the tool is easy to use on the online format. So good job to the state team for putting that together. It is pretty easy to use and to navigate. So
thank you, Kelly, for sharing that. And we will definitely make sure we let the other gals know how you appreciate how easy that tool is to use, because I know they put a lot of time and effort into that. So,
and we did have a question about what is the QIO, which is a great question, and that it stands for Quality IFSP Outcomes. That's the QIO part, and it's an assessment. It's really to look at the quality of IFSPs. It's a tool to help us put a numerical rating to the quality, whether they're acceptable, not acceptable, or best practice. And so this is a new tool, and Cohort 1 has really been instrumental in both testing this, refining it, and now implementing it as a true assessment tool.
And over the summer on our community of practice calls, you will be introduced to the QIO, and we will offer training as well for you in terms of when you'll be beginning to implement that for Cohort 2 and Cohort 3. And so I just have a follow-up question for you, Kelly. In terms of, talking about it as a supervision tool, I'm also wondering if you found that some of the training that you received through Go For It, if it really came into play in terms of where you needed to do more training, not just supervision, as a result of the QIO.
Yes, absolutely. So we have had a lot of discussion about that as a team, and I'm hoping this call will kind of help provide some clarity kind of on the moving forward end. We had our training as part of Cohort 1 in November of 2015. So I have new staff that was not at that initial training. I have staff that feels like they were at the initial training but were so glazed over because they were just like, oh my gosh, it's happening.
Like us, Kelly, we were too. We've never heard that feedback.
Yes, and if you remember, for the very, very first training that was done, so I think we certainly need to explore having a refresher, maybe a condensed version, because I think some of the trends can reflect on the initial training, but they've certainly evolved, and some of those best practice pieces is where we really need to work.
Yep. Great. And we will talk about that a little bit later on.
And Doris says that the QIO has been helpful to recognize where they're seeing the need for additional training as well. I think that's probably a common thread within Cohort 1, since you were sort of our learning as well. So we really appreciate that for you guys.
Does anyone else have any other questions for Cohort 1?
Oh, we have a question about the policy. If the policy or procedure is written, can it be shared as a baseline for the rest of us? And we have the Padlets that are available for that, but each cohort has their own Padlet, so I'm not sure that we have one that we're sharing with everyone.
We don't, but we can certainly make the links accessible to everyone, and if you do have written policies and procedures, if you can put them up on your cohort's Padlet to share, I think that that's an excellent idea, Jeannie. All right. Any more questions?
Yeah, no more questions? From Cohort 1, this is your chance to access all of their expertise and experience.
For those of you that are just kind of in the early phases of implementation, maybe struggling with how long the meetings are taking or anything like that, any question you want to ask, this is your opportunity. This is a safe sharing space. No judgment.
Yeah, this is Beth at Rocky Mountain Human Services. So Lenita and I were talking this morning, and I was sharing that we have some service coordinators who their annuals are taking 2.5, one person up to 3 hours. And I'm wondering how long it took you guys to get a handle on bringing that time back down to something more manageable.
Cohort 1?
Words of wisdom from Cohort 1. Does anyone have a handle on the time?
Yeah, this is Kelly again from North Metro. I feel like we do have a handle on the time, but it definitely took some practice. I was initially concerned about how long they were taking, and really because of the provider piece too. You know, these providers are scheduled for certain times with the family, and we were running into, well, the provider has to leave, or mom has to get out the door to go to work or pick up a child from school, and they can't take this long. And so there were even IFSPs we had to do in 2 parts, which is not ideal. But it did get better, and I think as they get more comfortable and the facilitation, they get more comfortable with the facilitation and the flow of the meeting, I do believe we have a handle on it now.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Kelly. Does that help, Beth? Does that make you feel more confident that it'll get better?
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I think it will. I think
it's kind of scary.
Well, I mean, yeah, Yeah, it's just a huge time commitment, and it's time that SCs don't have.
Nope.
Yeah.
They don't.
Kelly, are there any specific pointers that when you tried something, it helped with that flow? Because I think the words that you used, just getting a new flow for the process is very important because that does help. But are there things that you can identify specifically that helped with that?
I think that I wish Karina were here. She's out at meetings today, but I think that really when we go to the evaluations with our families, and so we have the opportunity after we talk through with the family about eligibility to kind of have a conversation about how the IFSP meeting is going to look. Mm-hmm. So we kind of make sure the family's prepared to be able to share that information with us so that when we do get to the IFSP meeting, we're kind of ready to go. We're not having to take a lot of time up front to explain what's happening. We've kind of already set that tone with the family at the evaluation. And I think the providers also get more comfortable. So as you're working with providers that are more and more, you kind of get more comfortable with where we need them to kind of share the info. And so that too. I noticed when the providers that have been to more and more are really starting to get seasoned on kind of what we expect, where we need their expertise, how that language works, where it fits in. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, maybe just
practice.
Well, I heard a couple points, Kelly, that I think are really important, and we do touch on these during the training, but I think I heard the term glazed over somewhere. Is really, it is so important that we're explaining to families up front and that we are, over time from referral on, giving them bits of information so that we aren't explaining it and kind of sucking up time at that meeting, I think is really key. And also role clarification so it's very clear going in. What am I as a service coordinator supposed to be doing and what are you as a provider supposed to be doing so that we know our roles and we're comfortable with that so we can support the family.
And it looks like Dory said that they also began to see that meetings took a little longer, but again with the understanding and practice of using the new process that they did see a decrease in time also. So that seems to be the kind of thought. Laura also had a question about how did Cohort 1 handle the transition from the provider database to record the score? And then how do we track the new way? So
I'm happy to address that. And Laura, so exciting. Foothills Gateway is going to get their universal training next week, and we will talk about this. But just to clarify for everyone on the phone, so it's a little tricky because right now we still have the EI provider database. So if you have a child pre-Go For It that has an entry rating in the provider database, you're going to record their exit rating in the provider database as well. If they're a new Go For It child that's just in the unicorn, you're going to record it all within the unicorn. And we'll talk about that more in detail at the universal training. But the only reason you'll be in the provider database is if they already have an entry rating in there. And you'll still be talking about global outcomes and strengths and needs, but you'll actually record the rating in the provider database.
Yeah, and I think the important thing here is that it's not a different process. If you've moved forward and you're doing the Go For It process for a child that didn't have their initial rating done in that process, it's okay. It just means that you're going to have to enter that rating back where you had the initial entry rating.
So great questions, everybody. And if no one has any more, we can move on.
Hold on, this is Mickey. I have
Sure.
a question from DDIC.
Great, Mickey.
I was curious for cohort 1. Can you talk about the age anchoring and if you're using a specific tool, what tool is being used, and how you feel that's fitting into especially the initial IFSPs and the family assessment?
Does anyone have any information for Mickey?
Hi, Mickey. Sorry, I feel like I'm talking over you.
No, that's great.
Yay! We have struggled with this a little bit. Our providers, we've sent out all the information to them in kind of provider blasts around the age anchoring tools that are available and that they can use. However, I would say the feedback from providers is they don't always feel confident using those tools. But I would say that most of the providers that are seasoned, good quality providers usually do not have a problem age anchoring based on the assessment information, the family assessment, and then when we go through the global outcomes. I feel like most of them are pretty confident in doing that, but I feel like we could use some support figuring out how to get these tools to the providers trained and how they can feel more confident using them.
So they're using the body of evidence right now?
Correct. I would say most of the time. We do have some providers that have brought out the tools, but I would say the majority of the time they're using the body of evidence to do that.
Pat, I know you're not in cohort 1, but do you want to talk about how you're getting age anchoring information?
Yeah, we've been, we had everybody take the Miser training and told them that they had the option to use it if they wanted to, that it wasn't a requirement that they use that. A lot of them have decided that they do like that tool. I think most of our providers are using a tool. A lot of them were using the Larimer County before when they were doing the COSIFs, and they've continued to use that tool. And then I think also the decision tree is also a really good tool to, even if they are using body of evidence, that once you go through that decision tree, it kind of becomes clear for you to decide where the child is at.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I think I heard, Sharon, I heard you say that you're using the Miser Cross almost all the time also.
Yes, we use it consistently.
Okay.
Yeah, and it looks like Alejandra said that they have created a blurb to send to providers prior to IFST meetings after evaluation that helps clarify and really explain the roles of the provider and that the service coordinator, so those expectations are set prior to that IFST meeting. So that's great, Allie, and that's something maybe if you guys would be willing to post on your cohort tablet for other people to use, or that we could share with other people, that would be helpful.
And if you're not comfortable posting on the Padlet, please send it to your lead and we'll post it for you.
Yeah. That would be awesome to have that posted.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely do that.
Thank you.
And Allie, tell people where you're at.
Oh,
Alexander.
I'm from Envision.
Okay. Thank you. Right.
Yeah, we'll get that posted, Melinda.
Yeah.
Cohort 2 Padlet.
So that'll be on Cohort 2's Padlet. But if anyone, would like that also in other cohorts, your leads can make sure you have that.
Okay. Any more questions for Cohort 1, or are we ready to move on to asking some questions of Cohort 2?
Hold, I'm sorry, it's Mickey again. I have another question.
Okay. That's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
For my understanding is that the service coordinators at the initial IFSPs are supposed to be the ones facilitating the family assessment and documenting that information, and that the provider's role at the initial IFSP is to capture that information on some sort of age anchoring tool or use that information to inform the age anchoring and the ratings for the COAS. So in our CCB, how we have it is we have service coordinators and providers who have gone through training to facilitate family assessments, and we have providers who facilitate family assessments the majority of the time so that the service coordinator can really capture that rich information on the IFSP. Not to say that it couldn't be the reverse, but my concern is if you place all of that on the service coordinator to facilitate a quality IFSP and to capture that information richly on the IFSP document, are you losing some of the content that's actually captured in the FA by having the provider solely take on the role of a lot of that COAS piece?
This is Laura. I'm gonna ask Cohort 1 to weigh in on this, but I also want to talk a little bit about roles in the family assessment process. It's perfectly fine if you have providers that are trained to facilitate the family assessment, that they do that as well. I know this is something that, Melinda, we've talked about at Blue Sky also. The thing that, when you're talking about the role of the provider in gathering information for the cost rating, information for the cost rating is all the information that's been gathered up until that point of the process when you're documenting strengths and needs and scalable outcomes. Generally, what is happening when, did we lose everyone? Are you still on the phone? Okay. Sorry, our computer went crazy on us. Okay. If they're using a tool that is both an age anchoring tool and a child assessment tool like the Miser cost, generally it's the provider that's scoring that tool and asking additional questions during the family assessment, and the service coordinator is the one recording the family assessment. However, there's no set rule about how that looks. You experiment with however you want to do it in your community. Does anyone from Cohort 1 have any feedback on the provider role they'd like to share with Mickey during family assessment?
Well, this is Pat, and I'm in Cohort 2, but I would say that it was a hard transition for our therapists to go into these family assessment and IFSPs and not start providing therapy and playing with the kids, and that was a challenge to let them know that you have a role in this process, and you're not here to be a therapist right now. You're here to meet the family and get to know the family and what you'll be working on in the future. So that was sort of a challenge for everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, I can see how that would be. I'm sorry I'm addressing this to Cohort 1, but does anyone in any of the cohorts have experience or have a process similar to Mickey's where the provider is the main facilitator of the family assessment? Okay.
This is Melinda.
All right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I had to unmute my phone there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're trying it both ways. We're trying it with the service coordinator leading and with the provider. In general, I think it's really hard for the service coordinator. We notice that their quality of documentation goes down when they're also leading the assessment. But we also feel like we contract with home health agencies, and it is really hard to get those providers on the same page. So we wanted our service coordinators to be able to lead the family assessment if they need to. But I think our preferred method is having the providers. That also helps them to engage with the family assessment rather than playing with the kid. But, you know, an ideal world.
Yeah. Right. And really ideally as part of the IFSP team that someone is really facilitating that family assessment conversation, and meanwhile they're collecting the child assessment information. So that really does involve engagement on the part of everyone. Yeah. Really, there isn't really someone just sitting around. Everybody's busy. Or just playing with the child. Right. So I think that, Mickey, it sounds like people are experimenting with different ways that it works the best, which is part of the Go For It process, and we really encourage you to do that. So maybe on our one of our next calls, we'll have more information. I know you're gathering information, Melinda, at Blue Sky about how that's looking in your IFSP process. So maybe this will be a continuing topic that we have.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Cohort 2.
Okay, hey, Cohort 2. So some of you have been talking already, which is great, because this really reflects the fact that cohorts, no matter what cohort you're in, you're at different points of the process of implementation. That's how it should look. We want this to be dynamic and individualized for your community. So we know that some of you are trying new things, some of you have found things that work, and this is your opportunity to share both those challenges and those successes. So I'm going to just do a round robin, if possible, with Cohort 2 around these questions that Lanita sent to you. Where you are in the implementation process, how's it going and your next steps, and then, so we're going to start with that question, and we're just going to go down the line. Beth, how about sharing from Rocky Mountain?
Sure. We are fully implemented. That started this month in April. We started with initial IFSPs only in March. So we also had a subset of providers that we trained to participate in our initial IFSPs. They're not the most likely provider any longer. So that really, I think, helped our service coordinators and providers practice together with a group of people who were all trained in the same way before we opened it up to everybody at reviews annuals for all your ongoing providers. Right now, my next steps are I still have one more Makeup Universal training that I'm doing for providers and new staff that have started. It's in May.
So you're replicating the Universal training for them, Beth?
I am. Yes, okay. I do. I have a condensed 4-hour makeup that I do. Okay. But I use your materials mostly, and then I pull in what that looks like at RMHS specifically as well.
Great.
And then our other thing that we have kind of ongoing is every other month we are offering that provider training for all of our providers that we offer to our providers participating in the initial IFSP. So it's about IFSP facilitation, roles and responsibilities, and IFSP outcome rating. And so we're doing that on an every other month schedule right now.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Did you have something else?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Do we have anyone on from StarPoint? Okay.
Hi, Jody here. Heather, our Go For It guru, is on vacation. So
well, doggone it.
We are here to answer questions.
Great.
With Heather.
All right. So, Dodie, how about this for you? Where are you in the implementation process, and what are your next steps? How's it going?
So we're doing it with all initial staffing, and we're doing it. I guess our challenge right now, or our question has been, if we have a periodic or a review and the kiddo's going to age out soon, do we switch over to a new, IFSP? And so we're kind of making that decision on a day-to-day basis. The reviews where the kiddos are going to age out in the next 4 months, we haven't been switching it over.
Right.
That's where we're at for that. And we have booked a training day coming up where providers and service coordinators are getting together just to see how it's going, because, when we have the 3 different counties, it doesn't look exactly the same in every county. So We're sort of having a training day for other things too, and then having several hours of go for it regrouping to see how things are going.
Great.
The miser, and then each provider struggles differently as far as age anchoring, but that's another day for coming together. We've got some that are using professional opinion based on the tool. Some, they've done the evaluation, so it's much easier for them to then do the age anchoring. So it's just a mix of how that's going. So that's our next step, is to get that age anchoring down in all situations, when we have so many different situations.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jody. And thanks for filling in for Heather.
Yeah.
How about Blue Sky? Melinda and crew.
So we are currently trying out a couple of different things. First, we're trying out the service coordinators not attending the evaluation to free up their time for transition activities and other things. And we're monitoring, the quality of the IFSP and making sure that all information is gathered. We're also working on implementing the Go For It with our internal team, our team of providers, service coordinators. We've inputted the miser into an electronic spreadsheet, so we just had a training on how to use that. And I am going to post that on the Padlet soon.
People are just champing at the bit for that one.
Yeah, I know. I feel you. Like, when I get excited, when I hear something good that other communities have done, I'm like, in my pants, just waiting to get my hands.
Yeah, I want that.
Yeah. So it's at least a good draft is just about done.
Excellent.
And I'm going to include a couple of short video clips to show people how to use it, because if you're not familiar with Excel, it's kind of hard to just figure it out. So,
Melinda, you're a rock star right now.
I'm an Excel spreadsheet nerd, is what I really am. And then, we wanted to work with our team to come up with an ideal process, because we all speak the same language, we have the same goals, and then we want to understand what really works good before we implement it with contract providers and home health providers. So that's where we're at with that.
Great. Lanita has just passed me a note. She's passing notes in class that says we're running short on time, so it would be great if people can also enter information around where you are into the next steps, in the chat as well. Do you want me to keep going down? Okay. And so, but let's keep going down the line. And how about community connections? And maybe just answer both questions together. Quickly.
Sure. We started implementing in January. And, kind of just went head first in, and all of the initials are being done with the Go For It format. I guess we're leaving it up to service coordinators to deal with things for annuals and that sort of thing on a case-by-case basis. I think one of the things that is difficult is when there's a really chaotic situation and there's 3 other kids running around and a lot of things ringing and that sort of thing. So certainly for all initials, we are implementing Go For It. What's the other thing? Oh, hurdles. I think the biggest thing is that some of the families feel like after going through the evaluation and hearing about all the delays that their child might have, as we go through the course and we go over that again, it's a little redundant and hard for them to hear it all over again. So that's one of the hurdles that we're facing. But I call it a work in progress, and I think that everybody was spot on saying that the meetings will get shorter and your process will flow as you do more and more of these.
Great. Thank you, Pat. Where's the wisdom from Envision? Short one.
Yeah, we started it was March 27th. And definitely we've had our share of people not really wanting to give us the anchoring, age anchoring, and we've had our share of providers playing with children at IFSP evaluations. But we are feeling much more confident this week. Our next step is to really use the blurb. We made that blurb that Monty talked about previously. We're going to really try to start communicating with our providers a lot more about what we expect in these IFSP meetings, and then also as service coordinators are getting more confident in our role in these meetings as well. So we're going to see how this next week goes, or the next few weeks goes, and we're hoping that we're all going to be a lot more confident and that it will progress more smoothly.
Wonderful. Thank you. Sounds like you're doing a lot of hard work. Is anyone on from TRE? Speak now. Okay, I don't think we have anyone on from TRE. How about Blue Peak? Can you share a little of your insight?
No one.
No one on from Blue Peak? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry we're having to rush this a little bit. You guys always have such really rich information to share. Be assured that we will revisit these topics on our following community of practice calls, and those are your ongoing opportunity to share information and ask questions. Oh, and so what do we have here in the chat?
Melinda.
Oh, and Melinda said we didn't anticipate how much time the process takes, and making sure that everyone hears and understands the same information has been time-consuming. On the plus side, it's extra time that we're carving out to experiment, evaluate, and train are important things that improve quality. It's much better than getting a new IFSP form July 1st with written instructions and figuring it out on your own.
Well, we like that feedback.
Yes, thank you. Okay. I agree. Thank you very much.
So if you have questions specifically for Cohort 2, please put them in the chat so that we can move on here a little bit.
So checking in with Cohort 3, it's very exciting that Developmental Pathways has completed their universal training, and so there's only 7 more to go. That's exciting, right? 7 more. So we would just thought that we would check in with the rest of you in Cohort 3 to see how everyone else is doing, and if you have any specific thoughts or questions.
And especially those of you, we know some of you have completed your 2-day visits, even if you haven't gotten to your universal training yet. And so just thoughts from Cohort 3.
Vicki or Michelle or Yasmin?
Or Katrina? Or Mickey?
We completed our 2-day training for 9 of our 10 counties, and we're doing our 10th county, Elbert, next Monday and Tuesday.
Yep.
And I think it went well. I think I was happy to see how engaged the Child Find people were that were there.
They really were.
I thought that was really a positive. So I don't know. I think we're all still trying to figure out how this is going to work with our large catchment area. And
I know your lead hasn't even gotten your notes to you yet, so bad on her.
Oh, is that you?
How
about Jean or Nancy, Jennifer? Do you guys have any specific thoughts or questions?
I think we're just still in a holding pattern.
Yeah.
Just seeing how it works and what we're going to need to do going forward.
Yeah. And how about Elise or Laura? I know that you guys have your universal training next week, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we're really excited to have Lanita and Wayla come up next Tuesday. We have our private evaluation team who does the assessments outside of that are needed to meet the 45-day timeline, attending that training, as well as all the service coordinators and representatives from both of our Child Find communities. And we have decided at a recent staff meeting to just, pardon the pun, but go for it on June 1st. So it's been interesting to kind of hear where the other cohorts are at, and we're just going to jump in, and I think we'll definitely be having a wild ride this summer. Elise has been working really, really hard on going through some of the materials from the 2-day training and looking at how we're going to train the rest of our providers, which we will be doing locally over the summer.
You got Danny DeVito on the screen. Yeah. Go for it, right with you. Well, and I do think that's really important, Elise, and something that we'll want to continue to share between and among cohorts is just how you're moving this information forward after the state has left the building.
Okay. And then anyone from DDRC, Susan, Roanna, Joy, and Nikki, do you guys have anything?
Sure. Yep, I can just speak up. This is Nikki again. We're in the early phases. Our implementation team meetings start next week. So we're, I would say on the back end of where everybody else is, or where it sounds like everybody else is at. But I think that we're feeling good about where we're at and just moving forward.
And Community Option says that they're going to start their planning days on May 2nd and 3rd. And Wayla and I are going to be traveling out there to meet with them and work on their 6 counties together. And then Yasmin, of course, thinking that it's after the 2-day training that it would be a better IFSC. They're very excited. Yeah. And Eastern was so enthusiastic. It was really wonderful to work with your team.
All righty.
It's going to be okay. We're going to keep supporting you. So we'll just keep going and going. Okay, so I do want to talk about some next steps that are specific to Cohort 1, but I want Cohort 2 and 3 to kind of keep this in the back of your mind as you get a couple years away from your training is we really do want to give you an opportunity for refresher training because as Kelly said, they were part of the first training. We were learning together and we have solidified some practices. So we are going to give you an opportunity for a refresher training if you can send things that are specific that you want us to focus on. So if you can send those to Lanita around age anchoring, just very specific requests for what you would like, we can certainly share materials that are created as well. We are in process of finalizing filming for the Go For It process, and StarPoint is going to be involved in that, as is North Metro, and when that's available, we'll share it, and possibly Envision. The EI Fundamentals training is really going to house the Go For It piece, the training. That's going to be incorporated into that online training, and we really are eager to get that to you, and we're going to commit to the, hopefully, December. It might be sooner. We're just going to keep working through it and see where we go. We also really want your feedback about the QIO self-assessments, if the number, volume, work commitment, how it's going, how we can support you. And then the other future piece is, once we get comfortable with the QIO and having a sense of self-assessment, then we're going to really look at revisiting the global outcomes. Are the ratings happening the same from provider to provider, from CB to CCB? And we do have some training and fidelity assurance tools, but we don't want to overwhelm you with that. So we're going to take our time. We have the luxury of time for that. So I just wanted to give you a glimpse of where we're headed. We already are a little bit over time, so I think we want to probably end the call now. We just had some reminder of upcoming dates and the Community of Practice call schedule. We'll send the PowerPoint out to everyone, so you'll have that for reference. But I know we want to end by Wayla closing us out here.
Yeah, we just want to say thank you, especially Cohort 1. This is your last Community of Practice call with us, so not that you could never call us again. We do want to hear from you. But we're really, really thankful for the work that you did and the contributions that you put in place, and your patience with all of us and with this process. So thank you so much. We just appreciate it, and the work that you have done has really set the stage for great work for this state, and we're really, really appreciate that.
Yay! Good job.
And Cohort 2 and Cohort 3, we're excited to keep working with you and looking forward to great days to come.
Yes. So email me what you would like in terms of refresher and support, and we will share current training with you as well. So thanks again, and email us questions if we weren't able to cover them today. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
She did get on there. Good. Stop the recording. Did we stop recording?
I'm doing end and exit the
Yeah.
meeting.
And that